So many days, so many losses for the Trump administration, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day, about immigration, about their use of the Alien Enemies Act, from the United States Supreme Court to district courts to courts of appeal, you name it. We could just have a separate Legal AF channel devoted to Trump's immigration, deportation, court losses. Maybe we will. But in the meantime, we have Legal AF MTN, we've got the Midas Touch Network, and we got the Legal AF podcast. And here's a clip. Welcome back to Legal AF. You may have noticed it's become sort of a monologue. Hopefully don't hold it against us. But Karen and I also have day jobs as lawyers, and something was pressing. And of course, I would always cover for my partner, Karen Freeman-Ignifilo. So I'm going to finish up on basically the rebellion of federal judges, including Trump-appointed judges, to Donald Trump's unconstitutional, rogue, and lawless attack on people who are immigrants, documented or undocumented, status or no status, and the attempted use of the Alien Enemies Act. And right now, in Judge Boseberg, people forget about Judge. Don't sleep on Judge Boseberg. D.C. Circuit Court, Chief Judge, was handling a case, and now it's a version of it's back in front of him, about the illegal removal and deportation to the gulags of El Salvador and foreign prisons by the Trump administration under the Alien Enemies Act. It's back with some new filings there. And he's getting to the bottom of a number of things. But one of them is whether Donald Trump has the power to pick up the phone and call his counterpart in El Salvador, that tiny little island, and tell him to bring back prisoners. And Boseberg watches TV just like we all do. And maybe he watches Midas Touch and Legal AF. A lot of influential people in law and politics do. And he saw what we all saw. Interview with Kristen Welker, interview with Terry Moran, in which Terry Moran point blank said to Trump, he was sitting in the Oval Office. See that phone? There's a phone in your office. Pick up the phone. Call Bukele, the dictator of El Salvador. He thought, I could. If he was as nice a person as you say he is, Terry, but he's MS-13. How do you know that? Well, he's got it tattooed on his fingers. Well, he doesn't, because that's a lie. That was a made-up, deep fake meme photo that you embraced as policy. There's a phone. Buck stops with you, Mr. President, Terry Moran said. You're not being very nice to me, Terry. That's usually Donald Trump's response. Kristen Welker said the same thing. Now Donald Trump's like shape-shifting when it comes to his power and his authority. When he was asked by the New York Times, by Time Magazine, in an interview that kicked off this whole tour of the media, and this was in writing, the Time Magazine reporter said to Donald Trump, "You've been ordered to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador. Have you done that?" Do whatever my lawyers tell me. But have you facilitated the return? Have you picked up the phone and called your counterpart? No one's ever asked me to do that. You're the first person to ask me to do that, right? The interviewer was the first person. That's because if that's true, he's either so out of touch with his own administration that he should be put out to pasture through the 25th Amendment. Or he's being lied to by his principal lawyers like Pam Bondi and Stephen Miller, who's not a lawyer, about the results that he's suffering, the losses he's suffering at the Supreme Court. Or he knows he's losing, and he knows why he's losing, and he's lying to the American people by acting like, "Oh, I don't even know. I get my information from the lawyers." So who really believes that the first time Donald Trump the thought was ever put in his head about picking up the phone and making a phone call was when the Time Magazine reporter asked him? Fast forward to Kristen Welker, he then admitted, this is the shape-shifting. He went from, no one ever asked me. And then it was, the phone's on your desk. Yes, but I don't like this guy. And then the third one was with Kristen Welker. One half of the interview was, due process, never heard of it. You're the president of the United States. You have to defend and uphold the U.S. Constitution. But does that include due process? I don't know. I got to talk to my lawyers. I'm not sure that means due process. There'd be a lot of trials. There'd be a lot of trials and hearings if we did that. That was one eye-popping moment. That would be an article of impeachment if adults were in charge of Congress right now. Hopefully they will be at the midterms. And then he says, I could make the phone call. I could make that phone call. So Boseberg hears it. He's at a hearing today with the Department of Justice lawyer, and he says, we all heard him say he can make the phone call. Did he? Well, that's really just a reflection of how Donald Trump thinks about himself and a reflection of his own ego about how. Oh, so you're telling me that wasn't the truth, what he said? Is that what you're trying to say? And the hearing sort of went downhill from there. I'll do a further hot take on it. You'll be able to wake up to it tomorrow morning on Legal AF. That'll be my #1 video on Legal AF, the podcast. But we've got 4 different judges who have ruled in the last 72 hours that Donald Trump has unconstitutionally and illegally invoked the Alien Enemies Act to deport people summarily without due process to foreign jails, period. And they run the gamut. 2 of them are Trumpers. Well, at least appointed by Trump. You've got the first judge, we did hot takes on it last week, was Southern District of Texas, Rodriguez, Trump appointee. And they all say the same thing. Tren de Aragua, the narcotics gang, being in America is a function of migration. It's not a function of an enemy, combatant, predatory incursion akin to war. Because we're not at war with Tren de Aragua, because they're not a country, nor do they stand for a country, nor is Venezuela using them as a proxy for a country. And without a predatory incursion, you don't have the fundamental basis to invoke the Alien Enemies Act. This is the analysis of all 4 judges I'm going to talk about. At the same time, in the last 72 hours, you've got the declassification of a memo written at the behest of Donald Trump's own Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Right? This isn't a Biden memo. This is a Tulsi Gabbard memo by the national intelligence community and analysts who were asked to go look at all the evidence about whether TDA controls the Venezuelan government led by Maduro, the Maduro regime, or vice versa. And they universally concluded in a very short memo that that is a lie, that the Venezuelan regime run by Maduro may do a little business with Tren de Aragua. A couple of the officials might like having them go to America to cause a ruckus, but that doesn't mean that that TDA controls the Maduro regime or vice versa. And there goes the entire argument that they are enemy combatants at war with the United States because they have infiltrated the Venezuelan government of Maduro, right there in the own analysts of Donald Trump. And the only thing that Tulsi Gabbard can say is, yeah, but the FBI, Kash Patel. Yeah, the FBI said it was the only disagreement in the memo. The FBI believed that there were some officials in the Maduro regime who did take special delight in some Tren de Aragua going to America and undermining public safety. That is not a war for Alien Enemies Act purposes. So says the first judge, and it's Donald Trump's first Hispanic federal judge appointment, Judge Rodriguez, Southern District of Texas. So says Judge Sweeney, a Biden appointee in Colorado, who said it was scandalous and shocking, the position the Trump administration was taking, that fundamentally that judges can't review the use of the Alien Enemies Act by a president. She said that was, I don't know if she said scalding, or she just said it was basically unprecedented and shocking. We just had a ruling by the Southern District of New York senior judge, Judge Hellerstein, who's no stranger to Trump matters, having ruled against Donald Trump during his criminal matters and during his E. Jean Carroll matters. He just ruled, same thing, no predatory incursion, no proper use of Alien Enemies Act, blocking in his jurisdiction the deportation through the Alien Enemies Act. And then we've got Judge Gallagher, also a Trump appointee, who also ruled the exact same thing, but for a different reason. Judge Gallagher just ruled that effectively Trump just made another Abrego Garcia in the form of Mr. Camargo, who also, she has ordered that, just like Judge Zinnes did, that he be returned to the United States immediately. So we're all coming here with all these judges, including Trump judges, like the last one. So He didn't like Zinnis, the judge in Maryland, called her a leftist, a Marxist, a radicalist, an activist, because she ruled for Abrego Garcia to be returned, and that the Trump administration facilitate that return. That decision by that Marxist activist, Obama appointee, was affirmed twice by the Fourth Circuit and 9-0 by the United States Supreme Court. But what's he going to do about Judge Gallagher, a Trump appointee? You see, notice Donald Trump never attacks in his social media posts Trump appointments. Never. He will be silent on Gallagher. If I'm wrong, I'll bring it to you on a hot take. But that's how these judges are fighting back and shoving back against a lawless president. And then we've got the two graduate students who, again, just to be clear, I don't agree with their point of view. I don't agree with what they're arguing in the streets. But unless you show me they are terrorists or they are funded by terrorists, the fact that they have a displeasing First Amendment expression, to me, is the exact reason I need to support them in our constitutional Republican democracy, because I am a believer in the First Amendment. I believe in all our amendments, by the way, up and down, in no particular order, but the First Amendment particularly. And that's why the ACLU comes in, the American Civil Liberties Union, to defend I was going to call her Dr. Ozturk, but she's a graduate student, Ramesa Ozturk at Tufts, who was, listen to this, and this is the part that's pissing the judges off and scaring us. They took her out of Massachusetts, and within hours, she was in 3 different states as they played shell game, trying to hide her from a federal judge before she ended up in Louisiana. She's now been ordered by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals sitting over New York and Massachusetts. She's been ordered to be returned to Vermont, where she was originally picked up. Vermont seems to be the place for these. We got 2 cases coming out of Vermont. Second Circuit said, no, you don't get to keep moving her around in 3 different states in 72 hours to avoid our federal jurisdiction. She was last in Vermont. You bring her back to Vermont. Now, we'll see another emergency application by the Trump administration to the Supreme Court. First stop on that train, I think, is Sotomayor. And I'm pleading with her. I'm pleading with Sotomayor. Deny the application by yourself. Stop turning it over. We got to stop with the niceties. And we got to start with elbows up, even at the Supreme Court. We got that case, and then we got the case of a guy named Mohsen, who was at Columbia University. Again, these are people that are expressing the views in support and in solidarity of Hamas and of the Palestinian people against the Israelis. It's all sort of coming out of the same place. But federal courts are the place that we want to be that last firewall to protect even foreign graduate students from abuse by this administration. Because where else? What would Donald Trump have us do, or his supporters? Get rid of the federal court systems? Just give him, yes, I know the answer. It's rhetorical. Give him complete carte blanche, do whatever he wants. Yes. But where's the check and where's the balance? And where's the 3 co-equal branches of government if one of the branches is completely run amok and nobody's there to stop them? So this has been a bad week for Donald Trump when it comes to his deportation and removal scheme. It is. It has. You can't spin it. There's no silver lining. He's lost effectively at the Supreme Court 6-3, 9-0, and 7-2. Every combination of a supermajority he's lost when it comes to immigration in the last month and a half. He's lost 4 cases in the last 72 hours. He's lost an appellate case. Now, sure, all of it is fun and games until you get to the United States Supreme Court. And again, I implore the moderate justices of the Supreme Court, use your powers and your superpowers to procedurally fight for the cause. It really is necessary. You're here fighting for the cause. The resistance is televised, and it's on YouTube, and it's on podcasts for the Midas Touch Network and for Legal AF. And we have a fellowship, a community that we've built here together, and it's meaningful, and it means something to me, and it means something to all the other contributors and those that were here from day one. I just, as people know, some people know from my private life, my 90-year-old mother was living in an assisted living facility in Georgia, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to move her to a brand new facility right near my home. And as I was leaving facility number 1, as I was walking the hallways in Georgia, I can't tell you how many of the home health care nurses or the health nurses and staff came up to me and said, and I've been going there for years. My mom's been there for 7 years. And just today, they were, wait, Midas, Legal AF, hold up their phones. And the fact that we've made it into that world, we've got some great guests, amazing people, and people from all socioeconomic backgrounds and educational backgrounds. But it's the most heartwarming for me when somebody who doesn't have 5 degrees, who doesn't have a master's or defended their thesis, comes up to me and gives me a fist bump or whatever. And that is the salt of the earth that helps propel the Midas Touch Network and Legal AF. It is a core part of our audience and so important to me, because when I do my hot takes, I don't picture that I don't picture people with their clothes off, by the way. I don't have stage fright, as you might have noticed, but I don't picture as my target audience who I'm talking to, I don't picture the college professor or the lawyer or the PhD in this or the doctor. I picture the American, the ones that do the living and dying and breathing and tax paying and hard work, school teachers and firefighters and home health care and people in the healthcare industry and veterans and the rest. That's my core audience, for who I speak to. And of course I want everybody else to come along for our journey, but that's important to me. And I wanted to express it here. Welcome back every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network. We do the live recording of the YouTube version of our podcast called Legal AF. Been around for 5 years. I'm one of the co-founders. We're top 13 in the world, all because of you. But we need help to continue to grow that audience and keep pace, if you know what I mean. So come on over, listen to it on audio podcast platforms, watch it on YouTube, tell your friends about it, send that clip off, and help us organically grow as our marketing department. Come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN, where we sit at that intersection of law and politics every day, 24/7, Legal AF MTN, and Legal AF, the Substack. We got it. It's for you. I do a briefing there every day called Morning AF, and then we post all the documents that we talk about, more analysis, more commentary, more videos, free versions of the podcast, all on Legal AF, the Substack. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.